All right, welcome everybody. Excuse the issues there. Good morning, Raider Nation. 2 days after your Oakland, soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders looked confident and played well on the field, we're back here in the Dollar Loan Center, don'tbebroke.com studios in Las Vegas, Nevada for another week of Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. Hey, everybody. I am Scott Gilbranson, the publisher of silverandblacktoday.com. Joined today by my co-host Matt Gutierrez, the man, and I always say it, one day you got to come in without a hat so people can see your hair.
No, it's the weekend, man. I got to brush my hair every single day.
There's a tribe in South America that worships your hair.
Well, you know what? The day they start commenting on here, and giving us phone calls, I'll come in sans hat.
All right. Well, then also we have with us today our crack correspondent, David Stepanian. David, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? How are you doing? Thanks for having me. It's been a few weeks since I've been on.
It has.
But it's good to be back.
It has, and your hat still hasn't bent its bill if people are watching on Facebook. By the way, we are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on Periscope and Twitch.
No, the white man can't jump. Look.
Yeah,
I don't want the white men can't jump look.
That's what you got going on.
Got to be the shoes.
You got to. It's pretty. It's so pretty. That's how That's how it works.
That is a style, though. People do.
Yeah, it was in like '92.
Yeah.
Well, young David is here, and we're gonna.
David was born yet in '92.
We're gonna school him a little bit into hat, but although he's probably just looking at us saying, "You old guys, shut up." Anyway, each week we meet here to talk Raiders football, to give you our views and the news, to take your calls. So pick up the phone. I mean, come on, guys. The season has started. Pick up the phone. Get on the air. Call us at 702-889-5978. Again, that's 702-889-5978. Reminder, in addition to calling in, you can tweet at us, Silver Black, the number 2 day, Silver Black Today, or me, LV Gully, and Matt is Sports Adrenaline. Leave off the E at the end. We'll take your comments there as well. However you want to get them. We're also, as I mentioned, simulcast live, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch. If you want to watch and listen, you can do that as well. This first hour of the show, guys, hold on to your jocks, as we used to say. Hold on to your hats out there, silver and black hats. We have a busy and informative hour. First up, silverandblacktoday.com senior NFL analyst Chris Reed will join us to talk about his takeaways from the Raiders' glorified scrimmage against the Lions. What did he see that got him excited, and what did he see that may give him some pause? He'll be with us at 8:15. Then, at the bottom of the hour, a special treat, Jim Jax, someone really well-known, actually, in the world of Raider fandom. Jim will join us as well to talk about the good, bad, and ugly of Raider Nation. We'll also get his take on the AFC West and how that's going to play out. We also take some time to really find out a little bit about his view on what's happening with Khalil Mack, a really intriguing and well-versed guy. He'll join us at 8:30 a.m. as well. And then hour number 2, we don't stop, folks, because that's how we do it. We just keep going, right? And at hour number 2, we're going to welcome from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert is a writer for the RJ. He's been at the Raiders camp all preseason thus far, and he'll give us his view of what went well and what didn't in Friday's game. We'll also ask him about some of the other news swirling around the camp in Napa, and that's right at the top of the hour after the sports update at 9 o'clock. We'll then tie a bow on the Lions game as Matt will give us his opinion on what we learned from the game and how it may impact the team the rest of camp. We'll change our focus to Saturday when the Raiders travel to the L.A. Coliseum for the first time since 1994, and they will take on the Rams, of course, in preseason week number 2, which we'll talk about that because guess what? Scheduling by the NFL, I mean, this is scheduling malpractice, right? 2 teams that are playing each other in week 1 of the regular season are playing each other in week 2 of the preseason. Is that another case of bias against the Raiders? We'll debate that with you as well. We'll also make our case for Khalil Mack and why he's worth every damn penny of $22 million a year. And we'll take your calls, too. So we'll see what else is going on out there for everybody as we roll along here on the Silver and Black today. There you have it, Raider Nation. You're up to date. We've set topics on the table for you. Now it's your time to chime in. Call us here on the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio at 702-889-5978. You have to have some thoughts on Friday. Share them with us. Don't be like a cowardly Chiefs fan. Yeah. I mean, suck it up and give us a call. But first, we're going to take a look back at the game real quick on Friday night. Of course, the Raiders victorious against the Lions at home in John Gruden's return to the Coliseum. And we're going to go right now to a summary of that game from our own David Stepanian. That's the thing with radio. When you're doing live radio, especially when they've updated the entire system at the radio station, sometimes things can go awry, Matt. But
Things been giving
okay.
them. Every Saturday, Sunday for the last couple of weeks, it's smooth, and then there's that one little glitch because they're still trying to figure out this new system.
That's right.
We feel bad for Mark in here for 48 straight hours putting this thing together.
Yes, it makes it very difficult, and that's the thing too. We have a great engineer in Colin Pulicella who does so much here, and you guys don't always get to see it or hear about it, but he does, and we always, of course, thank him for what he does there. So, but we'll get to it. We'll get to the story from David. But David, you look at the game on Friday. Everybody, this is the culmination of 9 months of an off season. You have John Gruden coming back. People just overly excited. But again, it is preseason, right? But we saw some good stuff.
Yeah, and that's exactly this was probably one of the most exciting off seasons for me as a Raiders fan, and getting John Gruden back into the mix of things, and even a little bit of drama with the Khalil Mack situation. Even though I don't put a lot of stock into preseason, this was a game I was interested in, and I just wanted to see the guys hit the field for the first time. I wanted to see the guys get in their comfort zone, sort of get in their groove for what's to be, John Gruden's opening season back here in the Oakland Coliseum. So I think that's the big story this year, and just to see him back on the sidelines and just to see the team hit the field, the starters playing that first series, it was exciting to see. And it's like, hey guys, it's football season. I love this time of year. I don't have to, be forced to watch baseball anymore. It's been a long summer, and I sort of look forward to football season every year. And I was ready for this preseason kickoff. Now, Matt,
we hosted along with the Sports Adrenaline crew out at Legacy Stadium a game watch party. We had over 100 folks that showed up in Raider gear out there to have fun, and it was a good environment, man. People were excited.
Yeah, it's finally football season. That's the sentiment you get from most people. Is it's finally football season. You've been waiting this long. David talked about seeing Gruden on the sideline again, and that's going to light a fire under everybody, because from the time he was traded away to Tampa Bay, the entire fan base has been waiting for him to come back. Every time rumors started up again about possible coaching change or a coach got fired midseason, the first name that Raider Nation went to was John Gruden. And for the last 9 years, you've been watching him on Monday Night Football, and nobody could pull him out of the booth. And Mark Davis somehow figured it out, and maybe it had something to do with the $100 million contract. But they got him out of there, and there you go. He's on the sideline. He's dropping the F-bombs on the players and the referees already. He's in midseason form, week 1 of the preseason, and that's what you want to see from him. If you watch the broadcast on TV, you heard Gannon talking about it a lot in the booth, about that fire and that passion that he brings every single game day. It's not just the work that he puts in. It's not just him calling plays on the sideline. It's that constant energy. And I talked about it yesterday on the show.
You did?
He's like a player. He's like a fan on the sideline. He just, everything rolled into one with the energy that comes out of him on every single play, every missed assignment, every bad call. It doesn't matter. He's giving you everything that he has down there. And it is, as a Raiders fan, it is fun to see him back on that sideline.
Yeah, we already have a great discussion happening on our simulcast on Facebook. Shout out to Mile High Raider, one of our big dudes who's always on there. And Jeffrey, I agree on Nick Nelson. We'll talk about that a little later. Now, David, we're going to get hopefully to your highlight package here in a little while. But if we don't, the game starts off, right, with a big play. Four plays in.
Marshawn Lynch?
Yes, Marshawn Lynch, right?
I knew it.
Runs 60 yards for a touchdown. Looked great. Everybody's talked about what great shape he is in coming into camp. And he certainly showed that coming into the game as well. Of course, the play comes back. Why?
Well, Colton Miller, man. And, I actually was excited to see Colton Miller. I feel like this is a guy that didn't get a lot of credit. And I want to see him succeed. I don't want to see him be a draft bust. I want him to perform well for the Raiders. But, come on. You just minutes into your career, I guess, in the preseason. You take away one of Marshawn Lynch's great moments, because he really wasn't showing his age.
No, but you know what, too, though, David? I think that it didn't really matter because it got the team fired up, and that's what mattered. And by the way, I rewatched the game yesterday. The holding call was questionable.
I disagree.
I think it was questionable. But because there's holding on every play.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
exactly. I agree with that.
So whether you call it or not.
Here's where the question comes in, because it was, in my opinion, it was a clear hold. He wrapped his arm around his neck. That's a holding. That, and by definition, he's holding him. Here's what kills me, and I'm going to put on my Raiders hat here real quick. Yeah. Here's what kills me about it when it comes to Raiders games. Those kinds of plays
get called
almost never go unmissed by officials. There are several teams that may remain nameless on this show that will do that at the point of attack a lot of times, that will do that coming off the edge right on the quarterback's blind side in front of everybody to see, and they will somehow miss those calls. In Raider games, man, they never seem to go unseen.
Of course not. That's how it works, right?
All in all, though, right off the bat, you saw that this is a different offense. This was a super vanilla version of what this offense was going to be, and it was already more creative than anything that Todd Downing did last season.
Yes. All right, well, we're going to step aside for our first break. That went quick, and despite technical issues, but hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. We called an audible, and we worked it out. So when we come back, we're going to go out on the Newsmaker line and talk to our senior NFL analyst, Chris Reed. Chris wrote a story about 6 takeaways from the preseason game. We won't go through all 6 of them, but we're going to get his take on what happened on Friday night. So check out his article over on silverandblacktoday.com. And when we come back, Chris will join us on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
CBS Sports Radio. CBS Sports Radio.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We continue to have some... Oh, look at, there's some music for you.
I think that's a good sign.
Welcome back to...
CBS Sports Radio.
Wow. Hey, it is a audible kind of day, guys. Stay with us. We're having some audio issues here at the station. There we go.
Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hang tight, everybody.
Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
Welcome back. It reminds me of my college days, radio, when you were first learning how to use a board. And that's not anything to do with our crack engineer, Colin Pulicella.
That's all the automatic stuff going crazy.
No, but Colin has done amazing work, dude.
Look at Colin,
working hard.
man. He's hustling
jamming
right now.
He's jamming.
He's on the phone. He's switching all these different boards.
And he's working his butt off, and here we are talking about him, and he's like, guys, just shut up. I'm trying to get this done.
He doesn't even know what's going on.
But anyway, you're back here on the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140, and we're going out now on the attorney Michael Troiano. That's right, Michael Troiano, great criminal defense attorney for all your needs here in Las Vegas. We're bringing in our senior NFL analyst at silverandblacktoday.com, someone else who knows what a haboob is. Chris Reed, because he's down in Arizona. Chris, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, we had a big rainstorm followed by a haboob. And if people don't know what a haboob is, it's a big dust storm.
Yeah, that was some serious stuff out here.
So speaking of dust, Chris, you wrote a story up on silverandblacktoday.com about the game on Friday, around 6 takeaways from the Raiders preseason debut. And let's start with the first one you actually listed, because I think it's one I want to talk about. And you had talked about it leading into the game. You had said, hey, we could see some different things here with the blocking schemes up front and with John Gruden's history with the running game. And we saw, Chris, the running game is indeed back in Oakland.
Oh, yeah, it looked really good. They put up almost 150 yards, had 4.7 yards per carry. A lot of it was surprisingly on a outside zone, and they looked really good doing it.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, we were talking about in the first segment with David here about the Marshawn Lynch 60-yard TD run that was called back because of Miller's holding call. But still, again, preseason games, you try to tell people, especially fans in Raider Nation, that, hey, look, don't get too down, don't get too excited about anything, because what you're really looking for, and because you are our internal football coach, right, Chris, you're looking at the X's, O's, you're looking at how people execute, you're looking at the schemes. And to see what was happening there up front with that zone blocking and to see how the running game got on track because of it was very, very encouraging.
Oh, it was. They didn't look slow at all. The Lions are a team that are kind of defensively built for speed, so you would think it would be a really good test for how well they move, how well the linemen can get to, the second level and get their hands on those fast linebackers. And, man, once they got somebody blocked, they stayed blocked.
Chris, talk about Chris Warren III. I mean, this kid wearing that number 34, you get a lot of the Bo Jackson talk, but he's a big kid out of Texas. He fits that power running style of football that John Gruden loves, and he's got some wheels to him as well. You saw him get the edge a couple of times, went 26 yards on that one run to the right-hand side. But, I mean, this is a guy that's going to push for a roster spot, and you have to start looking at the depth at running back on this team and go, man, there's a couple really talented kids that aren't going to make it there.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys, Doug Martin, Jalen Richard, DeAndre Washington, are more of those like smaller, shifty backs. So I don't know that they're necessarily competition with him because he's the only other real power back. But for a guy that's like almost 260 pounds to hit the edge the way he did, it was really eye-opening. You would think he would be a guy that they're going to send forward and, he might run somebody over, but he certainly showed speed for his size.
I talked about him maybe 6 weeks ago. We were just kind of going through the depth chart there, and I brought him up and compared him a lot to Zach Crockett because Crockett played for Gruden. He played in this same style offense, and when you got into the red zone, I mean, it was a Zach Crockett show. It was him and John Ritchie and Tyrone Wheatley and these big power backs, but Crockett had the same kind of build as Warren. I think Warren's even a little bigger than Zach Crockett was, and he was a beast. I could see him being used in that same type of role and racking up a ton of short yardage touchdowns throughout the season, in that 6, 7, 8 range.
Now, Chris, let's go over to one of the other points that you had here, and that was about, and this is one that really, really encouraged me because of how many years it's been since the Raiders have had a really strong presence up front in the middle. Let me tell you, P.J. Hall looked fantastic on Friday night, and that defensive line overall played really, really well.
Yeah, they were. It's kind of funny. It doesn't matter if it's 1998 or 2018. If you control the line of scrimmage, you're going to look really good. And the defense did exactly the same thing the offensive line did, where they just controlled the point of attack, the line of scrimmage. P.J. Hall, he's only like 5'11", but he's over 300 pounds, and the guy is just a monster. So he's going to have a good leverage advantage. He's going to get a lot of push inside. Yeah,
if you look at what P.J. Hall was able to do as well as Mo Hurst. Now, Hall had 1 sack. He batted down a pass in 11 pass rush attempts. And Hurst had 2 pressures as well. And I've started calling them the H&H brothers, but that's been very, very exciting. Now, the other guy that I was really impressed with, and especially with some of the injuries, and even though we're hearing now that Garyon Conley's coming back from him himself and from the coach yesterday, Nick Nelson played really, really well.
Yeah, he was breaking up passes. They had him returning a couple of punts, I believe. He looked pretty quick out there, too. It's good to see him bouncing back from that knee injury he had during the draft process.
Yeah, he was targeted by Detroit 8 times, allowed 5 receptions for just under a yard, 0.89 yards to be exact, thanks to our friends at PFF, per coverage snap. So he held the Lions quarterbacks to a 70.8 passer ratings when he was targeted. So that's good news. Now, the other thing that you had wrote about in your story up on silverandblacktoday.com was about Connor Cook. And actually, Matt has been a proponent of this, too, saying we know what we got with E.J. Manuel, Matt, right? But Connor Cook, Chris, last night looked really impressive. And to me, the big thing here was not the numbers, but his poise.
Yeah, he looked he looked calm. He looked in control of the offense. That was the biggest thing. He was really accurate moving out of the pocket. It was kind of, it could have been just a condensed playbook with as much as he had to move out of the pocket instead of getting, to his first or second reads. But, they're not running a lot of different plays or offensive design in the preseason. So that could have had a lot to do with it.
I felt Cook looked good. Like you said, he looked calm. I thought there were times when he seemed a little unsure of his throws because he didn't really step into some of them and floated a few. There were a couple of balls there where I think if he puts something on it, he's getting completions there instead of batted down balls or overthrown balls. But other than that, he did look good, and I think he's taken a step in the right direction to be the number 2 on this team. He's not going to start. He's not going to take over the position from Carr. But you need a competent young kid that can come in, and if something were to happen to Carr, he can step in for a few games and win some games for you.
Yeah, and hopefully he gets that offense down. I think some of that probably was just uncertainty with the new offense. So we're going to let you go, Chris. Chris, dude, thanks for joining us today here. Again, Chris Reed _NFL. Follow him on Twitter. He breaks down film better than anybody in my view. And we'll catch you next time, my man.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Chris Reed, our senior NFL analyst over on silverandblacktoday.com. Check out his story up on the website complete with film, as it always is. And we'll check, just check it out because Chris is great. And David, what do you think about Connor Cook?
Oh, I think Connor Cook looked great. He looked very comfortable, and he was put in situations, and he knew how to pull it off. I mean, he had that impressive touchdown to the back of the end zone. I liked what I saw. E.J. Manuel threw 4 for 6 too for 44 yards, I think, somewhere around 44 yards. But yeah, Connor Cook 11 for
Fumbled
18,
snap.
141. Yeah, fumbled snap. But yeah, like you said, you know what you get with E.J. Manuel from his days in Buffalo as well. But what I really want to talk about, I feel like we got to talk about Eddie Pinero. Going 3 for 3.
One of Chris's points, too, in his story. Absolutely.
Yeah, 3 for 3, 48-yarder off the dirt. I really love John Gruden's situational play calling there because you want to see how he can do from long range off that dirt.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and we talked about that, and after the Sports Adrenaline guys talked about it, we saw a lot of other people talking about it too. But it was great to see that. Again, though, I want to say, don't get too excited. It's one game. Chris Warren III looked awesome. But that doesn't mean anything. It's preseason. It's good progress, but we'll see how it goes. Now, we're going to step aside soon here in a second. When we come back, I want to tease the next segment, as we call it in the business. Jim Jax, who a lot of Raider fans are familiar with, writer, frequent guest all over the country on radio and podcasts, you name it, is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit about Raider Nation as it relates to the Khalil Mack situation and what it says about Raider Nation right now. We'll also talk a little bit about the AFC West and get his thoughts, too, on what he thought of the game on Friday night. You are listening to... There's the bass, baby. The bottom end is coming in. We got the music back. We got the music back. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
This is Shalik Calhoun with the Oakland Raiders, and you're listening to Silver and Black today.
Shalik. All right. Thanks, man, for bringing us back in. We roll on here on Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. from the city founded by Mormon missionaries. Yes, that's right, Las Vegas, Nevada. Most people, see, we try to educate people here as well. And we're going to go out again on our attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line to Northern California, and we hope he's safe with the fires going on up there. We're going to speak to writer, medical professional, all-around good guy, Mr. Jim Jax. Jim, welcome to your first time here on the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio.
How you guys doing? Can you imagine when we're 13 years old and we're sleeping till noon that we'd be excited to be up at 8:30 on a Sunday?
Oh, I know, man. It's crazy, and it gets early. On a Sunday, usually Sunday, especially with football coming around, right? You want to sit with the coffee and the paper. Well, not the paper anymore. Now my iPad with digital.
What's a paper?
I know, exactly. For those of us who used to write for them, we remember. Yeah, Jim. But first of all, you doing okay up there? I know the fire's right up there, and it's a terrible situation up in Northern California.
Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, Jim Jax Media, I actually my brother-in-law contacted me and said, look over the horizon. I look, and over our neighbor's house, there was these plumes of smoke. So I called 911, and the 911 operator is panicking.
Oh, my gosh.
She's like, oh, my God, where is it? So I literally ran up there before the firemen were there, and I have live video that people can see where literally the fire was getting yards away. I helped someone in their house. It was a really funny story. I'm not going to give it away, but a national news guy was there, and he lives there, and he was taking photos, and I grabbed him, and he's a real big guy, and I grabbed him, and I said, let's go help this guy's house. And he goes, wow, you know what? My leg kind of hurts.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
I'm not going to out the NBC. I'm not going to out the the network. But anyway, if you could believe it, it was feet from the houses, and they stopped it. So one house did burn down, sadly, and these houses out here, we're kind of in the ghetto of the rich area, but those houses up there were easy $1 million homes, and it was so scary. We got some pets, some reunited dogs.
It's 2 years in a row up there.
Yeah, and I know being from Southern Cal,
all Raider people are heroes. You know that.
That's right. There you go. See, and that's right. I'm sure the guy who wouldn't help you guys from the network NBC,
the Niners fan.
He's probably a Niners or a Chiefs fan. As Phil Villapiano would say, he's probably a Chiefs or a Steelers fan. But we're gonna jump in and talk now some football now. Jim, you and I had communicated over the last few days, and I think we've had the same opinion on some of these things, especially when it relates to a little bit about the state of Raider Nation. Now, again, there's no question Raider Nation, Raider fans all over the world, to me, still the best fan base there is, the most loyal overall.
Absolutely.
There's no question, right? But we're seeing some weird, and I think, and I, being the old guy here on the crew at 48, I see it a lot with younger Raiders fans, and that is, the Khalil Mack situation brings out some of this, which is that there's people, Raider fans, who love the team, who want to trade him and keep talking about like it's going to happen. And I just don't get that when you have, to me, the best defensive player in the NFL. And what's going on with Raider Nation there? Is it just so many years of being disappointed and just not realizing what you have?
When I first started writing, I started in the 90s, but for sports in the early 2000s, and I wrote for one of the biggest companies right now. Back then, they weren't big, but now they're one of the biggest sports sites in the country. But I could not believe the change that social media and the Internet created with the fan base. What happened is that fans, when I grew up, I'm your age, so when we grew up, we wanted the truth. If our team wasn't good or if they were struggling, we still loved them, but we admitted it. We're now fans. I just checked out every team's probably 100 writers, and all of them have their teams going to the playoffs. So I think what's happened is that there's too many. You guys are experienced news people. They aren't. And I think what's happened is that 90% of the people writing online are fans that are trying to write. I'm a writer that is in the background of fans. So I've been right a lot on when I said the Raiders were going to go 2-14, everybody, oh my God, pitchforks and cats and dogs living as one, and then I come up and I was right. So I think what happens is a lot of times you guys are good experienced reporters, old school. You actually wrote on something, and now you have 30-year-old Johnny Smith who is got his Madden on the right, and he's writing as an insider. I just saw a thing today where the Buffalo Bills, two writers said that P.J. Hall just got traded to them.
I saw that. I saw it this morning. It caught my attention for like 30 seconds, and then I remembered it was on Twitter.
Well, what happens now is you get fan is short for fanatical. We talk about that all the time. And they now have a voice. They have a voice that fans never had before. Before it was, you go to the game, you complain with your small group of season ticket holders, and you cheer for the team. Now you have this voice that's out there for everybody to see, and that now instead of having to be fact checked and things of that nature, there's no accountability. People can say whatever they want, and then people run with these stories and take them as truth.
Well,
I did an experiment with these guys because it took me about 5 years because everyone says, "Gosh, how come you have such a following and stuff?" And it's all the stuff that you see on the internet. I just don't pay attention. I'm not dramatic. And that's why I told fans the day after the Super Bowl. I said, if I'm Khalil Mack, I never step foot in another football field with without a long-term contract. And I wrote it a month ago. I said, Raider fans, don't freak. If he signs the day before the season starts, you got it here first. The Raiders need him. He needs the Raiders. It's business. This has nothing. People are used to getting an Uber at the drop of a hat on their phone.
They all take it so personal now.
Yeah, and now now Khalil Mack sucks. We dominated the Lions, so now we have the fearsome foursome, and it's like you have to be realistic. And the realism. I just did a podcast the other day, and I pointed out that the NBA made 102, or their salary cap for next year is $102 million. The NBA teams made $7 million. The NFL salary cap is only $177 million, and they made $14.5 billion. So they made double what the NBA makes. So they're printing money. And the NBA, I mean, gosh, why couldn't I have been a foot taller? You have guys that are bench players making $5, $6, $7 million.
Yeah, NBA money is insane right now.
It really is.
Yeah, but I think Mack's going to sign. I'm really
absolutely
not worried about it. The guy that I'm worried about, and if I'm the Raiders, I tell Navarro Bowman, do not sign anywhere until you talk to us. I think what the Raiders are going to look at is what they have left over, what can we do, but I think that's the guy they really need too with Mack, because now if you put Bowman in and you put Mack in, now all of a sudden you got something, because I'm not sold on the Raiders defensive backfield, and their linebackers to me are like vanilla ice cream. But
yeah.
I do like P.J. Hall. I wanted Maurice. I did a round table, and I wanted Maurice Hurst in the first round. That guy is such a solid player. And so I like what they've done. Arden Key is very raw, but I would just tell Arden, go get the quarterback. I would not make him do anything crazy. He's still learning the game, but I would just say go get the quarterback, because you can't teach that type of – he has that SEC speed that is just over the top.
Well, again, we're talking to Jim Jax. You can find him at Jim Jax, Jax Media on Twitter, as also on Instagram. So, Jim, here's the thing. We also wanted to get your view real quickly, too, on the AFC West. Now, to me, it's so much in flux. Of course, the Chargers are the Chargers. They continue to have people drop like flies. And the Raiders, I think people are, and this is not, again, because of the Raider website we have or the radio show we have, looking at it realistically, I think the Raiders, especially nationally, are being overlooked. And a lot of it's coming from this desire to say that John Gruden, the game has passed him by, he's too disconnected.
I think you live in this sabermetric society where if you look to the left, it's some sort of sign that you're good or bad. And I love sabermetrics. I'm an Oakland A's fan. We started it with Billy Beane in baseball. So I love all that stuff. But I think some of it is way too carried away. And I think they're looking at it that John Gruden is an old school, grind them out, 1970s type offense where you beat up the team physically, no zone schemes, just straightforward power football, and then you throw. And I think that's where the sabermetric people, they want 5 guys on in a route, and the cheerleader come out getting a popcorn. I mean, they want all this crazy stuff, and that's John Gruden is an old school football man, and I think that's exactly what the Raiders need. Bill Walsh said it best. He goes, if you have a power team, you do not run the zone scheme. He goes, zone scheme was made up for teams that had smaller offensive lines, but they were quicker. If you notice the 49ers in their heyday in the 80s and 90s, they had a small offensive line, but wow, were they quick. And that's why the zone scheme worked for them. For the Raiders, they're a power team. So I think that's why everybody's downplaying them. The defense is in flux. I'm not sold on this defense. They need Mack and Bowman. I know Raider fans are very excited, but Gary and Conley, I don't even know what he looks like. He hasn't been on the field enough.
And they got to get their guys out there, and I think there's time to go. So, hey, Jim, listen, we got to run now. I want to just thank you again for coming on, and we'll have you on again real soon.
Oh, anytime, Scott and Matt. Take care. You guys have a great day.
All right, you too, man. Again, Jim Jax here on Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We'll be back right after we pay some bills. Take care.
CBS Sports Radio.
Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. It's Sunday, folks. Only a few more left until we hit the NFL season. Of course, we started the NFL season, the preseason that is, on Friday night with the Raiders. Reminder, if you're listening to us, great. You can, if you're in Las Vegas, enjoy the weather. If you're not in Las Vegas and you can't listen to us over the air, then you can stream us on radio.com as well. Speaking of the Raiders, I want to also let you guys know that next week on Saturday, our brother/sister show, Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas, which you can hear in this exact same time slot from 8 to 10 a.m., they're going to have a killer guest that has some ties to the Raiders, also some ties to the 49ers. Carmen Policy is going to be on Sports Adrenaline. And I'm looking
forward to talking to him.
Yeah, and I'm sure, remember, Policy worked with the Raiders and the Chargers and the Spanos Goofs to try to get that stadium that's actually now being built here, the exact same stadium that's being built here, built in L.A. for the Chargers and Raiders before the NFL said, the Rams are coming because Kroenke's got more money and all that other stuff. So Carmen Policy will be on Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas next Saturday from 8 to 10 here on Sports Radio 1140 AM, so don't miss it.
Scott, I just turned around and noticed this picture here.
Yes.
What's going on in this picture? This is a caption, this kind of pic. What is this?
This is... So you can't see it unless our by the way, our video feed, which I can see a lot of people are watching.
Tony switched to it. So if you're watching the video feed, you can see me pointing at it here.
Oh yeah,
I want to know what's going on with this picture because
you know what that is.
It's intense.
That is, of course, most people can see. It's Bruce Irvin and Arden Key.
Mm-hmm.
And this picture was, I don't know, it's like a week old when camp was really getting rolling. And it was about a story around Irvin really taking Key under his wing and challenging him daily. So I printed that picture
Looks
out.
like he's challenging him to a fight right now.
I know, but I love that. That's why I printed it out
right there.
But that's why I printed it out.
Benjamin moment.
I don't know why I just now noticed it, but we're
going to take a picture of you and Stepanian later where you're yelling at him.
Yeah,
it's like a UFC stare down.
It is.
It is. David,
all you need
by the
is
way,
a scale in the foreground, and you're in good shape.
David, by the way, wearing a Los Angeles Raiders hat.
I'm so ready to go to this
You're going
Rams
to the game.
Raiders game. Yeah, I'm going to be at the game Saturday. I'm so ready.
And I asked David, I said, we were at the watch party over at Legacy's on Friday. I asked him, are you going to, you want to go get sound for us? And he kind of said, yeah. And then he realized, man, I'm going to be drinking beers and having fun.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much.
I forgot that I was actually going to have fun and enjoy the game.
Well, here's what we're going to do. So we got our audio issues fixed out. So we're going to do, David did a summary of the game on Friday night. We're going to run that right now so you can hear it, and then we'll come back to David, give him more crap about his hat, and we'll talk about this. Here we go. Here's David Stepani with a look back at Friday's Raiders-Lions game.
All eyes were on the Raiders on Friday as John Gruden reintroduced himself to the Oakland Coliseum in their preseason opener against the Detroit Lions. Both teams got off to a slow start, with the Marshawn Lynch touchdown being called back due to holding by rookie first-rounder Colton Miller.
Lynch, big hole through the left side. Lynch tearing down the sideline. He will make it into the end zone, but a flag down behind the line. Right in the hole that Marshawn ran through 60 yards for the score if it stands.
The Raiders led 3-0 heading to the second until Connor Cook gave the Silver and Black their first and only touchdown of the game.
On 3rd and goal, Cook to the back of the end zone, diving to make the catch. Touchdown, Ryan Switzer, and a leap into the black hole.
Amir Abdullah would respond with a 2-yard touchdown of his own for the Lions to make it 10-7 near halftime.
Abdullah will get the first crack at it. Touchdown, Detroit.
But it wasn't enough as the Raiders held on to win 16-10. Derek Carr played the first series, going 2 for 4 with 11 yards.
I think that we played well. We were efficient coming out of the huddle, all those things, and we didn't want to show much, so it was fun.
Coach Gruden was mostly happy with the defense, but he couldn't deny that something was missing.
Well, P.J. Hall comes in on his very first play, gets a sack. I think he bats a pass down. I think he batted down and blocked a lot of kicks in college. He's just a very good inside rusher, and that's good for him. He missed part of training camp with the pec strain. Maurice Hurst had some good pressures. I would love to have seen Arden Key play tonight, but he didn't go. And we're really hopeful one of these days we'll get Khalil back to fortify everything. But good start for our two young guys.
Connor Cook threw 11 for 19 with 141 yards and a touchdown. P.J. Hall recorded a sack in just his first few minutes on the field. The Raiders will head to the L.A. Coliseum to face the Rams on August 18th. For the Silver and Black Today, I'm David Stepanian.
David Stepanian with the game report.
Had a lot of fun doing that.
It's always fun when the Raiders win, right? I mean, it's a little easier, albeit preseason. But, David, you talked a little bit in there. Arden Key didn't play. That's Matt's dude. But we saw a lot there, and you talked about some of it in the report, and that is Gruden. You could see he was happy at times, but I could also see middle of the game, I started to see that look on his face like, okay, I know what we got to work on.
Gruden's such a passionate guy, and I just want to give a quick shout-out to John Castanino, our boy. I love the defense in the game, by the way, the play of the defense. He had the Raiders in the over. They're -3, and the over was 37. So he's a little hopeful, but of course it ended up being 26, the total.
Yes.
Never
bet overs in the preseason.
That's exactly. Look, I've never, as much as I wanted to bet this game, going to Legacy Stadium, having fun with you guys, as much as I wanted to bet this game, I've never bet preseason in my life, and I didn't want to start now. I bet pretty much all 17 weeks. I'll bet all 17 weeks of the regular season, but
it's actually good value.
It's great value.
We're not a betting show.
I've heard this a lot. No. Look,
yeah,
I've heard that a ton. That it's great value if you look into it, but it's so unpredictable. You don't know how many.
You can't scout a game with 90 people on the roster. You just can't do it.
It's practically impossible, and that's why I don't try to put like a lot of weight into the preseason.
Of course not.
I did like what I saw from the defense.
Well, and that's why we have to also be careful when we talk about guys like Chris Warren III, who we also have some sound from. Here's what Chris Warren, I think people were surprised by his explosiveness because he's a big guy, like Matt said, the Zach Crockett mold. But here's what Warren had to say when they asked him about that.
I mean, I haven't been the most explosive guy, I'm not going to lie. I haven't had the most explosive runs, but I have ran track, and I am like a faster guy, I feel, especially at my size. So I feel like there's some things that are overlooked, breakaway speed being one of them, but I mean, it is what it is. I'll just have to make more plays to get that opinion changed,
My thing with preseason, I like what he had to say there because I think he's a very self-aware player and he knows where he stands and what his abilities are. But the biggest thing about preseason is you can't take, like you said, David, the defense looked good. You can't look at it as a whole package because the defense didn't have all their starters. The offense they were going against didn't have all their starters. You can't take it as a team-for-team kind of thing. You have to look at preseason on an individual player basis because no matter who they're in there against, you can see what kind of ability certain players have in certain situations, and that's where it becomes important. The result of the game is irrelevant unless you have money on one side or the other. The team defense statistics, I think, are irrelevant. Same with the team offense statistics. But you want to see how individual guys play. You want to see Colton Miller have that holding penalty. You don't want to see that, but right. I mean, that stands out. P.J. Hall looking like a football player. This kid has football instincts and can play. Those are the kinds of things that you want to see in preseason.
And you want to see building blocks, right? You want to see guys like Nick Nelson, who I think outside of the play of P.J. Hall and a few others, and Chris Warren, obviously, because of the numbers and what he did, you look at a guy like Nick Nelson and you say, okay, that's a building block. That's something that'll help a young player gain some confidence going into the next game, going into practice this week. So it's all good stuff. All right, we're going to step aside for the top of the hour sports update from CBS. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by the Las Vegas Review-Journal NFL writer Gilbert Manzano, who will talk Raiders game and Raiders camp with us. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gilbranson and Matt Gutierrez.
All right, we are back here, top of the hour. And we're going to be joined in a few moments here by the Las Vegas Review-Journal's Gilbert Manzano. Just want to remind you guys, too, we are here every week from 8 to 10 a.m. talking Raider football. We also can be streamed all over the world.
Everywhere,
man.
It seems like.
Raider Nation is international. So we
got conversation going on Facebook.
Oh, man, it's jamming over there.
A lot of fans jumping in from all over. New York, Denver, everywhere.
Exactly. By the way, we are the personal radio show of Raider Nation fan Jeffrey Crandall. He wanted a shout-out, so we gave it to him.
Nice. There you go, Jeff.
We try to please here. We try to please. But radio.com is great. By the way, that app, you can find any station on the network where you can get sports. So you go in there, WFAN in New York, and, of course, KXST here, which is CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas. But take that with you. You can stream it there. You can also stream us. You can get the copy of the show usually within about 2 hours afterwards up on silverandblacktoday.com. All right, we are now going to continue our Whirlwind Sunday as we go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line once again and bring in Las Vegas Review-Journal NFL writer Gilbert Manzano, who covers the Raiders for the paper. Gilbert, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing good. Now, let's jump in. Preseason games, they're a mixed bag. Fans get excited about it just because there's football on TV. You can go to a game and whatnot. For those of us and those folks like you who cover the team day in, day out, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of things, storylines you're looking at. When you look at the game from Friday night, for you, what was the big storyline and what did we learn about this team, at least early on?
It's going to be tough, with just a few snaps for the starters, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it seems like that defensive line is going to be a lot more, aggressive, active, helping out Khalil Mack, especially with P.J. Hall and Mo Hurst, the rookies. Mario Edwards Jr. moving to D-tackle. Ellis is looking sharp. So pretty much all the guys up in the interior of the defensive line look really sharp for me. I know probably Khalil Mack, who's still holding out, is, probably watching that game and thinking, wow, I finally get some help. So that for me stood out. I think P.J. Hall could be maybe a gem that they found in the second round out of Sam Houston State. He was very active. He had a bat ball. He had a sack. And then when you have Mo Hurst helping him out to get to the quarterback, I'm very excited for this D-line.
Yeah, Gilbert, Matt Gutierrez here. That's everybody talks about John Gruden and the influence offensively, and I think the defense gets kind of lost in the shuffle there. Because Paul Guenther is such a great defensive mind and he's such an offensive or such an aggressive play caller on the defensive side of the ball. Last season we saw guys, Bruce Irvin talks about it a lot, being able to go back to his natural position at D end and get after the quarterback. Guys were out of position last year. They weren't put in the right spots to succeed. And this season you're going to see guys really, really flying around the field, more comfortable in their roles and doing what they do best. And that's all because of the way Paul Guenther is aggressive and calls the defense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially with Bruce Irvin back on the edge as a pass rusher, that's really going to help out the entire defensive unit. I think last year they were so starving for quality linebackers last year that they had to put Bruce Irvin back in the middle coverage and helping out there, especially with the secondary being so poor. They needed a lot of help when it came to the passing game. Now it seems like linebacker can actually be a strength. We have veteran guys like Tyre Whitehead and Derek Johnson. I don't know how much those guys still have left in the tank, but from watching them practice and the scrimmages, they're very good when it comes to keeping those short routes. Say when the running back is coming out of the backfield, they stick to those running backs and they're really and they stick to the tight end. So when it comes to those short passes from the quarterback, I think the Raiders will be a lot better now with Tyre Whitehead and Derek Johnson. Guys like Marquez Lee, who are now older and more experienced, could help out probably. Jason Kabinda could be a guy who might get a job now. He's looking really sharp as a linebacker. So now when you got quality linebackers, you're able to call up blitzes that Paul Guenther loves to do. So Bruce Irvin and Fado Brown could now rush the quarterback. So now they have more options, especially up top in the front seven.
Yeah, I know Markel Lee did a great job on Friday night. He had 4 run stops, 7 snaps, 5 of 5 on tackles, so that was a good sign. Now, Gilbert, when you're looking at the Raiders, because you're up there, you're in camp day in, day out, and you see what's happening, how has that atmosphere, and I call it the culture of competition and things that are happening around John Gruden and how he's molding this team, How did that translate, and how did it move over from practice into the game? Did you feel like it? Did you feel like Gruden was happy with where they've gotten as much as you can be as a head coach in week one?
Well, John Gruden is still a very loud, exciting, brash coach out there. I know he was very fired up about that Colton Miller penalty when the Marshawn Lynch went to the end of 60 yards. So he expects a lot of these guys. He's very demanding. He'll get in your face. He'll even call you out in the media, as he's always done when he was with the Buccaneers and the Raiders, in the early 2000s. So when it comes to rah, really hype John Gruden, it's still the same. And I think at first, at least, the guys like it. They like being pushed. Maybe the Jack Del Rio stint for 3 years a little bit, maybe a little too laid back. Maybe they weren't, as pushed as John Gruden's going to do that. That won't be a problem yet. The only issue with John Gruden, we still don't know how he's going to be as a play caller. But so far, I think all those jokes about being 1998 and being a throwback offense, was maybe kind of just a joke for the offseason. Because when I was watching them in Napa, and that first drive with Derek Carr, there was a lot of formations. There was a lot of guys moving around. So, but they still had the 8 blockers, I formation for Marshawn Lynch to go for the run. So sometimes that throwback style works. But I think John Gruden's going to mix it up. It's going to be a different John Gruden when it comes to play calling with Greg Olsen. But when it comes to motivating guys, he's still the same guy who's very fired up.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Gruden's play calling personally because I think he's super creative. He knows how to move guys around and get those mismatches. Gilbert, go back to Marshawn Lynch, and I want to because you've been up at camp, you've been able to be around these guys. Have you had a chance to talk about had a chance to talk to Marshawn Lynch while you've been up there? Such a personality. You saw him in the sideline interview with Derek Carr with JT, where he kind of threw JT for a loop there for a second. I don't think JT quite knew how to react to it, but Marshawn just such a different cat. But guys seem to love him up there, especially Carr. Carr always seems to be hanging around him. You get a chance to talk to him, and what's the vibe you get from Marshawn up there?
Well, Marshawn doesn't really like to talk to the media, but he likes to hang out and chat here and there. He won't do anything, on the record. That's why when JT the Brick talked to him on air, I was kind of surprised, like, whoa, what's Marshawn doing there? JT took a shot, but it ended up being a comedic answer. But
score one for Marshawn there.
Exactly, but at least Marshawn is trying to, be in the spotlight with Derek Carr. That kind of shows he's having fun in Oakland. I know last year wasn't the best year, but when you come off a year like that, sometimes you're kind of, not really as involved. You're maybe, just looking to see, okay, I got my 10 years in. I should, just relax here in Oakland, my hometown. But he looks like he's always working out. He's pushing the guys in practice. I think he's really taking on that mentor role, leadership role, especially with Chris Warren. He's been, hyping him up, saying, how did Chris Warren the third not get drafted? He's been solid in camp. Every time I'm looking to see where Marshawn Lynch is, he's always joking and laughing with somebody. So people love his energy, his vibe. So I know sometimes Marshawn Lynch gets a bad rap for being a guy who's, maybe looking too much into his social life when it comes to, reality shows or selling products. But so far, Marshawn Lynch is keyed in. He's locked in. I think he wants to have a good year, especially playing in his hometown. He doesn't have too many years left.
Yeah, and Gilbert, talk about, too, being in camp, this roster and the kind of makeover it's had is clearly an influx of young guys, and we talked about the Colton Millers, the Nick Nelsons, and those types, Arden Key and so on, but also a lot of veterans have come in, and I think that was clearly by design by Reggie McKenzie and John Gruden and the rest of his staff to get that leadership there so they can get into transition and get guys ready for the future. How has that been in camp? We hear that it's very flowery and it's great and everybody loves it. But from your perspective, how is that molded together, the vets, the young guys, with the roster that was already existing?
Yeah, when I look at this roster, it's like a combination. It's not really in the middle. It's a combination of really young guys who might be project, long-term guys who might not be ready until they get to Las Vegas. Then you get some guys like Jordy Nelson and Tyre Whitehead and Derek Johnson won't get to Las Vegas, but they're here to help these guys get groomed and develop. So you don't really get that middle tier where all the entire rosters in their prime and their mid-20s. It's kind of a big gap between, rookie, second-year guys and then the really vet guys. But I think that's kind of helped out the locker room, especially, it seemed like last year there were some issues with the locker room. I think that could be a reason why Michael Crabtree got let go. Marquette King. I think he's just a punter, but he was, there was some, reports that he was kind of also a headache in the locker room. So when you get rid of guys like that, and then you bring in, guys who are veterans, who when it comes to a reputation, Jordy Nelson and Derek Johnson, those guys are, really stand out. And then when you got those young guys like Arden Key who might need, some type of guidance, you got Bruce Irvin right there to help them out. So I think it's a mixed combination of both, and so far it's working. You might have, a little too many guys who, have some of those character issues, but when you got guys like Derek Johnson and Jordy Nelson to help out, and John Gruden, who really believes in himself and his coaching staff, that he's able to kind of turn these guys around, the ones that need a little more help, a little more guidance, a little more counseling, I think they feel confident about the way they coach and they teach. So far, I know it's still really early, but so far it's looking so good.
Gilbert, real quick, we got about 30 seconds left. Any Vegas talk up there? Fans, players, anything? Have you talked about Vegas at all in the move?
Not really. I know they know in the back of their mind it's coming. They kind of just want to keep it a football. But last year when I was there, it felt like Las Vegas media and just the topic of Las Vegas was like the enemy coming to this territory and being the bad guys. But this year, I think they're kind of just used to it. It seems like, it's going to be two cities, Las Vegas and Oakland. We're going to, get together and try to make it a good year. So, so far the vibe wasn't, so awkward or strange when I was up there. So I think people were just kind of getting used to the idea, especially now that they're, have a year or so left before coming to Las Vegas.
Right. Thanks a lot, Gilbert, for joining us. Gilbert Manzano with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We'll take another break here. We'll be back. Silver and Black today, CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, this is Rodney Hudson. You're listening to Silver and Black Today.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Silver and Black Today, CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. Rodney Hudson bringing us back. The anchor of the offensive line there.
Stud.
Underrated, right?
Oh.
I mean, it's hard to be underrated when you're maybe one of the best centers in the NFL, but you don't talk a lot about the centers, especially when you're in between a guy like Kelechi Osemele and you've got Donald Penn on the outside and this crazy offensive line, and you can get kind of lost in the fold there in the middle.
Well, you know what, Matt, too? I'll tell you what, to use a baseball term, the battery, right? I know John Gruden's actually used that term when it comes to Carr and Hudson. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, those two guys together, if Carr reaches his potential, which there's no reason why you don't think he would, with Hudson, that pair could be one of the greatest pairs in football. And go down really as two Hall of Famers working together for a really long time.
Yeah, you have on this offensive line, I mean, just on this team in general, Carr, potential Hall of Famer if he continues to follow the career path he's already been on. Rodney Hudson, I think, probably will be a Hall of Famer because I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. Kelechi Osemele is just, man, this guy's an absolute
talk about underrated
monster. Yeah, not only that. You talk about a freak of nature. This guy could play the mountain on Game of Thrones. He is an absolute freak. Size, strength, ability. I mean, this guy. But David, let's jump ahead now. Let's look to the week upcoming. And I just got done talking about it's hard to put a lot of stock into the team statistics, right? The overall defense, the overall offense. You're going to be in LA this week, which I'm a little jealous about because it's been 24 years since the Raiders played in L.A., in particular the Coliseum, which there's so much history in that stadium. But what do you see from this game upcoming? Are we going to see the starters?
Oh,
I feel like you have to play at least a series. It's the Coliseum, right?
This is so difficult to talk about because we're on the same page when it comes to preseason. It's fun. I love watching preseason games. I'm glad that it's on TV. It gives you something to watch. Fans can go out and enjoy affordable games. But it's so hard to put a lot of stock into preseason. The Browns went 4-0 last year in the preseason. Yeah. Didn't the Raiders start 4-0 in the preseason back in 2006?
Back
in 2006.
And both times that do you remember who the Lions went 0-16, correct?
Yeah.
The Browns won one game. Both of those teams were 4-0 in the preseason.
Oh, my goodness. You're right about that. So it's so hard to put much stock into the preseason. Now, this upcoming game against the Rams, it's very interesting. Are we going to see the starters? Because I don't think we're going to see a lot of action from the starters. Normally, that second preseason game is when we get the bulk of action from the starters in that first half. That's what we saw last year when the Raiders played the Rams in week 2 of the preseason.
This is different, though,
Jared Goff
because
played the entire first half.
But this is different because, like Scott mentioned earlier, they play each other on September 10th.
Exactly.
It is August 12th. They play each other in a month. So, I mean, even if you do see the starters, first of all, you don't want anybody getting hurt out there in a game where you're going to see this opponent in week 1. Also, you're not giving away anything. I talked about how vanilla this offense was for the first preseason game, even though it was still more creative than Downing's offense. You're not going to see anything out of either one of these teams going into this game.
This is so tough because I want to see the starters play in this game because it's L.A. The Raiders are coming back to the Coliseum for the first time in 24 years. You know there's going to be a ton of Raiders fans there. This is probably going to be their last game at the Coliseum. Assuming 2020 they have that new stadium opening, this is probably going to be the last time the Raiders play in the Coliseum. So I want to see the best level of action that I can get at the Coliseum. But Sean McVay doesn't want to play his start. He only played 2 starters in that 33-7 loss against the Raiders. And he's already talked about in the post-game press conference that he doesn't think he's not so sure he hasn't even said if he wants to play his starters in the entirety of the preseason, let alone just next week's game. He's not big on playing his starters.
Okay, but the biggest important question is, what are the odds that Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg will be on the sideline?
Well, come on. Raider Nation president's got to be there.
Here's something fun. This Raiders-Rams game this coming Saturday is actually the most expensive preseason game for week 2. It
sounds like a guy who bought a ticket.
Well, the hype surrounding this game, and let's talk about the venue.
It's actually like $50 on StubHub for tickets to this game.
Let's talk about the venue for a minute, being in Los Angeles, because our buddy Vinny Bonsignore pointed it out earlier this week on Twitter.
Who will be on our show next week.
Right. He pointed it out that the Coliseum got this big facelift over the offseason and some renovations, a lot of money put into it, make it a little more fan-friendly, I guess you could say. And the teams that are breaking it in, the Rams versus the Raiders. I mean, it's kind of poetic that these two former L.A. teams, now the Rams back in L.A., are breaking this thing in. David, what are you looking for specifically, being able to go out there and kind of take in this whole experience? What are you looking for from the venue, from the crowd? How much silver and black do you expect to see out there?
I expect to see, look, being born and raised in L.A., there's a ton of Raiders fans out there. So I already know that the Raiders fans are going to come out in droves, but I feel like we're going to see more Rams fans just because of season ticket holders.
I don't know.
Just because of season ticket holders, and I think that the season ticket holders are going to show up, and that's going to be the key difference here. I still feel like it's not going to be much of a home field advantage. And look, here's the other thing. Again, I'm not sure we're going to see the starters for the Rams play. I think we'll see the Raiders starters play. But the Rams now at South Point, they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They're 6-1
They're my
now.
favorite to win the Super Bowl.
I have no problem with that pick. I think the Rams are going to be great. But you know what season ticket holders love to do? They love to sell their preseason tickets. I'm telling you.
Hey, this is the most expensive preseason game.
There you go.
Week 2,
you can get a nice little turnaround on your 50-yard line seats there for your season tickets. Maybe you pay for a couple of games by selling these preseason tickets. I'm saying minimum 50-50 split. You might even see a little more silver and black in the Coliseum than you do any of that. What do they wear now? White, yellow, blue. I don't even know what color the Rams are anymore.
Yeah, they're back to their old jerseys.
Yeah, but they still got gold outline. They're a mess. The Rams need to change their uniforms as soon as possible because it's a mess right now.
I think I'm expecting to see a lot of Rams fans, and I think this is going to be about as packed as you're going to see a preseason game, just because there's so many fans in L.A. That have been just dying to see the Raiders play in LA, and you can't really go to the Chargers games because the Chargers at it's not called StubHub Center anymore. I don't think so.
Tiny soccer field. Just call it Tiny Soccer Field.
And those are the most expensive tickets in the NFL, Chargers games. So
which is kind of absurd, right?
Oh yeah, I mean look,
you're in rent a stadium that doesn't
25,000 fans a game. Yeah. 25,000.
But Ram fans are more excited now, I think, since the days of Joe Pendleton at quarterback.
When?
Joe Pendleton. It's another movie reference.
All right. Missed that one.
Yeah, you're too young. Heaven Can Wait. It's a movie with Warren Beatty.
No, I've never seen
it.
Sorry, man.
But I think
me on that one.
If you look at what happened on Friday, you want to see guys like Chris Warren continue, right? You want to see them continue to make progress. You want to see guys that didn't do as great, right?
You want to see, individuals step up and do their job. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but go out and do your job. Whatever that job is, whether you're the running back, offensive lineman, defensive back, whatever it is, go out there and do that. We saw a lot from the defensive secondary this last preseason game. You saw guys that were right around the ball. They were around the receivers on every single throw. They were getting their hands in there. Whether it was completed or not, guys were there. We didn't see that last season. There was so much separation from every receiver against every Raiders defensive back. I've talked about it before, watching games on TV where you don't even see a defensive back in frame.
All right.
If you're watching on TV and a pass is completed and you don't see a defensive player, and it's not because it's a breakdown, it's because they're just getting destroyed out there, that's bad.
But that's why I love what I saw out of Nick Nelson. Now, I got to temper this, David. We get excited when we see a guy like Nick Nelson or Chris Warren III play really well in a preseason game, but you can't put too much stock in that. You can't get too excited, but it is a positive direction.
100%, because especially Chris Warren III, guy fighting for his job, and that puts so much more stock and emphasis into how they perform. So it's, again, I don't know how many times I can get back to this, but preseason is so tricky, and that's why a lot of the guys that you see on the field, they're putting in 110% when guys who have their jobs secure, they're not really worried. I don't think Colton Miller is really worried about that penalty because he knows that, he's going to be on the roster day one. There's no question about it. So it just goes back to these guys play to their potential, and they have to because it's the preseason, and this is the only time they're going to get. This is the only time you're going to get to shine.
Of that. We'll give you another third. George Atkinson III. He was with this team for a few seasons in the preseason practice squad, and he looked like an absolute stud out there in preseason, running all over the place, returning kicks, looked lightning fast, and he couldn't even crack the 53-man roster. So, you want to evaluate these guys, and you want to see what they're able to do, but you also have to take into account who are they being evaluated against. If you're out there late in the fourth quarter and you've got numbers 78 through 90 on the field defensively, then of course your offense is going to look a little bit better because those guys, by and large, are not going to be there.
Well, and not only that, but also you forget, too, that you could play really well through the entire preseason, and then guess what? A guy better than you hits the waiver wire.
Yep.
Because I don't think the Raiders are done picking up players where they need to. And Jim Jax thought it might be Navarro Bowman. I don't know, but I do know that if a guy becomes available and it gives them depth and it gives them an upgrade at a position, they're going to do it, right? They're going to go out and do it. So we'll definitely see what happens there. What I want to do, though, is we're going to get to a break here in about a minute. But when we come back, guys, I want to talk about a couple things. One is I want to talk about what you mentioned with the Raiders scheduling with the Rams in preseason and then regular season. So we'll debate that a little bit. Second, we'll hear a little bit from Coach Gruden, too, on the game. But also hear a little bit about where we are with Khalil Mack. We don't know any more information, but we had a passionate discussion the other night before our watch party, Matt, on the podcast about Mack and why he deserves every cent that he wants. So we'll talk a little bit, too. And no, they're not trading him.
Yeah, get over that, man.
If you think the Raiders should trade Khalil Mack, turn in the card.
Stop watching football.
Turn in the Raider card. Come on. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
We are back. Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And we get some questions, and you heard the intro there. Radio.com. Take Scott and Matt and Dave and Colin, not Tony, in your pocket with you.
It sounds so weird.
I know. That's why I like saying it. I'm telling you, man. It's crazy. Anyway.
Creepy vibe this morning.
Radio.com, baby. You can take us with you. That app is available for iPhones, for Android. You can watch it. Also, iPad, of course, any iOS device. But also on your computer, too. You can go to radio.com, the website, and listen to us there. Just search CBS Sports Radio 1140. All right, we are back talking about the Raiders and the scheduling, right? So the Raiders are in a position, and if you've heard John Gruden talk about it just a little bit, he's pretty much said, it's really unusual. He says unusual, which is code word for what the hell is wrong with you, that the Rams and the Raiders will play in week 2 of the preseason, and then that's the lead-in. That's game 1 of the regular season on Monday night. A great game, don't get me wrong, but why the heck is the NFL scheduling games like? Is this another case, Matt Gutierrez, of Raider bias?
No, because it's equal on both sides. Both teams have to play each other in both games. It's not like the Rams get to scout the Raiders, but the Raiders don't get to scout the Rams. It's even on both sides, but I think it can be a little bit of a chess match here. I think you can have fun with this if you're either coaching staff, because how much are you going to show them? How much are you not going to show them? How much deception are you going to give them? I mean, you can go out there and throw a whole bunch of stuff and make it look like you're getting crazy creative and look at our offense. This is what we're going to do. And then you come out with a completely different game plan for week 1. So, I think you can have a little bit of fun with it. The thing that scares me more than anything is that Rams defense, honestly, because I don't care what you show them in preseason. Week 1, and in the 4-part series I wrote with the upcoming season, predicting the game by game, man, I don't have the Raiders even being close in that week 1 game. And it's not because I think the Raiders are a bad team. I think the Raiders are still going to be playing catch-up because you have a new system. You have a lot of new faces in there, and they're going to be trying to play catch-up as the season gets rolling along. And you've got a Rams team that is very dynamic on both sides of the ball, is going to be a top 3 defense most likely. They're going to be tough to contend with right out of the gate.
Well, and we have some of our listeners and viewers on Facebook and YouTube say, hey, guys, temper your excitement, and I wouldn't call it excitement, about the Rams, right? But you talk about that defense. You got Brockers up there on the line with Aaron Donald, right? Then you got Talib and Peters in the backfield. I don't care what age they are. They're still tough. To me, that is David Stepanian. That is the reason why, not so much the offense, because I think Jared Goff, as good as a quarterback as he can be, I don't think he's quite there yet. He's still good, but there's some question marks, especially around consistency there. But that defense, David, man, I don't know how you look at that defense and don't say, hey, unless something happens, they get hurt, how they can't be the odds-on favorite.
I want to start off by saying Rams -3 in that Week 1 matchup. You say the Rams are gonna. You sound pretty convinced.
I think I had in my prediction. I had the Rams winning by 13, and that I feel like it's going to be a late score by the Raiders that makes it look a little more respectable.
I was breaking down. I didn't want to sound like a Debbie Downer when I said, "Man, this
a
Rams
David Downer, David Downer."
Yeah. Wow, Scott, good job. Yeah, so I didn't want to.
Good job.
I didn't want to sound like a Debbie Downer there, but yeah, man, this Rams team looks scary, and I feel like I don't want to sound like a David Downer again. I feel like the Rams are pretty close to figuring out that Aaron Donald situation. So I feel like he's going to be there Week 1 when they play the Raiders. Of course, I think we're going to have Khalil Mack back too. In all fairness,
well, we need one more. We need one more opinion. So we're going to bring in Colin Bulicella, who's our engineer. Colin,
yes, Scott.
Okay, well, we're getting requests for dates again, dude.
I think Colin would be great. I think we need Colin on the camera more. I think he'd be great for ratings.
The
ladies love him.
And there's some girl asking me to tell you to take your shirt off, but we're not going to do that.
No,
so, but what do you
Too
think?
early for
you like football in general too?
Yeah, of course.
We won't talk about
it.
Yes, you played. Oh, there you go. See, I didn't know that you played football. Defensive back, quarterback,
quarterback.
Nice.
He looks like a quarterback, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like a quarterback?
Yeah.
I think he looks like a quarterback. Anyway, so Colin, what do you think about the Rams? You think they're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl?
I don't see how they aren't. I mean, they stacked up this offseason. It's pretty obvious that they wanted to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
When they, got, Talib and all those, defensive players. And that it helped Wade Phillips, too, with his defense because he's a good schemer.
I love Wade Phillips, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's one of the smartest defensive coaches out there. So I think they're stacked. I think it's going to be definitely a big challenge.
Now, do the Raiders forget the preseason game? Because again, we've been talking about that all day.
That's preseason.
But that first game of the season, what do you think? You think the Raiders have a shot?
Of course, it's any given Sunday.
That's why it's called an opinion, man. I'm not. I can't predict the future. I'm just trying.
And
I'm not trying to create an argument between you and Colin.
No, let's go, man.
Well,
Round one.
Injuries happen.
No, the Rams
you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, especially in trying to bet on games too. It's such football is such a crazy game, even like baseball, betting on that too. You just never know what's going to happen. So
see, now I know why Colin did so well with our audio issues early, because I said I joked that we're calling audibles. He's a quarterback. He knows how to do audibles.
Gotta
check
learn
it
on your
out.
feet, man.
Yep.
Baptism by
We're gonna
fire.
get you one of those wristbands now.
The Rams can stay healthy. That's what like. This is a team. Sean McVay knows what he's doing. This is a team that stays healthy, and I have a theory on whoever's going to win the Super Bowl. That's the healthiest team. Like, you got to stay healthy, and the Rams are a team that stayed healthy all year long last year.
This isn't a case of me saying that personnel-wise, player for player-wise, the Rams are leaps and bounds better than the Raiders. That's not what I'm getting at here, because I think the Raiders, when it's all said and done, will have a very talented 53-man roster, and I think it'll be a better roster than they had even 2 years ago when they went 12-4.
Right.
My point of contention is this. The Rams are ahead of the Raiders right now. They
no question.
This is a team that was really good last year and put better pieces in place in this upcoming season. Mm-hmm. They already have an established system. They already have an established coaching staff. The Raiders, on the other hand, again, as good as Gruden can be, as good as Gunther can be, that kind of stuff takes time, especially when you have a 50% turnover on your roster. So those guys are going to be playing catch-up early in the season, and to have to play the Super Bowl favorite in week one, right out of the gate, that puts you behind the eight ball right away.
Well,
there's where my point of contention lies with the Raiders getting beat in this game.
This gets to also what our guest Jim Jax said earlier, right, which is in the media today a lot, and this is not just tooting our own horn, which I probably don't do enough of. We should probably toot our own horns a little more. But you're just telling the truth, man. Like you said, we didn't all grow up Raider fans in this room, but you did.
Yeah.
So it's not like you don't have a close affiliation on a personal side. I know you separate it when you're doing media, but so
I'm very realistic about my view on this team.
Everybody just wants to hear. It's sort of like politics, and I don't go into politics on the show, and I have no desire to ever do it. But it's like politics today. People tend to listen to what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Instead of actually wanting to hear what the truth is.
Yeah, and I don't want to blow smoke up everybody's butt out there and just say, the Raiders are going 16-0 and it's all sunshine and rainbows. This is going to be the greatest team you've ever seen. This will be a better team than last season. Again, I think they will have a better roster from top to bottom.
Yeah.
But there's going to be growing pains, and you have to understand that going in.
Got to accept it.
Already, we're dealing with the Mack situation and the growing pains there. That's part of the business of football.
So.
You have to go through. That doesn't mean knee-jerk reaction. Cut him, trade him, get rid. Come on, man. This is the best defensive player in football. Do you really think that trading him is your best option because you're a little salty that he wants to make money? Come on.
I appreciate the segue. Yeah. Okay, so now we'll roundtable it a little bit on Khalil Mack. So we talked about this pregame on Friday night from Legacy Stadium and our watch party. Khalil Mack. It blows my mind that anyone out there thinks that the Raiders should trade him, number one. Number two is $22 million. I know it's a lot of money, but you know what? He's worth every cent. So anybody, I want somebody to call in right now. You call in 702-889-5978, 702-889-5978. Give me a valid argument of why the Raiders should trade Khalil Mack, and I will say your name on the show for a month. Because you know what? You can't give me one. He is the best. I don't care what anybody says. I know Arnold's. He's a good player.
I think Darnold.
Darnold's, but I'm sorry. Yeah. He's worth every. Just like I think Derek Carr is worth the money.
As good as Darnold is, Mac's more versatile.
Yeah,
he just is. He's a more versatile player.
The stat again. Mm-hmm. The only player,
only player in NFL history to be an All-Pro selection at two different positions in the same season.
That's right.
There you go.
Can I chime in on this, guys?
No,
you didn't hit the buzzer.
I want to paraphrase something. My old professor Ron Futrell from CBS Channel.
Shout out to Ron.
So he said something like this: the Raiders are like a different team in the way that they might just not have the money, to pay for a guy like Khalil Mack.
That's totally wrong.
Putting that $750 million. Well, this is just something we haven't really touched on, but this is another theory I've seen out there online that people have talked about.
We actually talked about it on the podcast.
We did. So David, you bring up a really great point, and that is, and they make it personal always. Mark Davis,
it's the clothes, it's the van.
Yeah, Mark Davis can't afford
perception over reality,
right? Colin's got a lot of money, so he'll. See, again, that's why the ladies love him. No, I'm just kidding.
The bank is just stacked.
He's now, well, yeah, because you're playing flag football now. But anyway, the point, though, is they make it about Mark Davis always, that he doesn't have enough money, this franchise. Listen, we talked about it on this show, Matt. This franchise went up the rankings again. It's number 34 in the world in value. The money that is there is there. It's not about whether or not they have the money. It's about structure of contract. It's about cap space. It's about making sure you take care of all the pieces. It's a business transaction. It takes time.
It does, and that's the thing. How convoluted is this contract? $22 million, front load, back load, guaranteed money, the move to Las Vegas, the Donald Penn possible pay cut. There's so many moving
all right, well,
parts.
hold that, because we're coming back. We're going to step aside real quick for a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation because we're rolling.
Yes, sir.
You're listening to Silver and Black Today, Las Vegas's only all-Raider talk show on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, this is Tim Brown, Hall of Famer. You're listening to Silver and Black Today.
Tim Brown, where did he go to school?
Notre Dame.
That's right. Check out the hat if you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Man, we're getting flooded with date requests now for Colin, and we will try to do that. Just remember that Matt and I get 10% booking, right? And we got to make sure too. The leading favorite right now is Megan McGahey. So Megan, she's trying to she tried to slip me some money. So I'm liking her so far. So we'll see how that pans out.
She's sliding, bro.
She's sliding. That's right. I love that reference.
That's the best.
Also, we have Mile High Raider, who's one of our serial viewers, which I appreciate very much, my man. He's trapped in Denver. Oh man, that's gotta suck. Not Denver itself because it's a beautiful place, Colorado, but being a Raider fan in Denver has gotta holy moly. But he says that Matt needs to give us a mohawk after we beat the Rams, talking that 13-point mumbo jumbo.
Y'all have heard Scott talking about, you need to come in with the hat off and the hair and what. I don't think you guys know how sensitive I am about my. I like my hair. I don't want to lose my hair. I don't want to shave it into a mohawk.
You're getting all emotional there. I like
and
that.
I never see you wear the hat outside of here. Like whenever we do media things like Aces games and stuff like that.
No, he's got the perfect
man. You got to dress accordingly, brother.
He's got the
accordingly.
I don't know if it can grow back if you do the mohawk.
Exactly right. But if it gets stuck like that, I don't know.
It's kind of like a modern day Ricky Ricardo almost.
Hey, I'll take it.
No,
Ricky was a stud in his day, man. I'm good with that.
It's good hair, man. I'm telling you what. So we'll see. We'll make some fun bets during the season for sure. We'll have some of that. But I agree with Matt. I just think it's going to be tough for the Raiders to do that. And let's finish up the Khalil Mack thing. See, nobody's called in because there's no argument for trading him.
Okay, here's the biggest
no argument.
No matter what anybody says, whatever their argument is in being for trading Khalil Mack, there is nothing out there on any team that you could get in return that would justify
or draft picks
trading Mack. No, because draft picks aren't tangible things. Those are guesses. Those are maybes. Those are hypotheticals. You don't know what you're going to get out of those draft picks.
Well, the national show that's before us by who's Andrew what's his name? Filippano. I'm thinking Filippano.
Yeah,
Filippano. He was talking to some fan called in and from the 49ers. Yeah, we should trade for Khalil Mack. We'll give him a 1 and a 3. I'm like, are you stoned?
A 1 and a 3.
I mean, he must be at a dispensary here in Vegas because unless
you don't give up a 1 and a
3.
A 1 and a 3 doesn't get you Bruce Irvin, let alone Khalil Mack. Like, come on, man.
Robert Jackman's. He's calling you out. If you're so confident these Rams, let's promise a mohawk.
What does everybody want me to cut my hair for?
Because they know how much they know how much it means to you.
Man, that's
all right.
That's rough.
We'll cut David's hair.
Rough.
We'll cut David's hair. David will have a mohawk. Wait, he's like, wait a minute.
Where did I get mixed into
finally
this?
got David to tuck his hair under his hat. All right.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, you guys showed me how to wear a hat because apparently I don't know how to wear a hat.
Well,
thanks, guys.
You get to my age and your hairline starts to recede a little bit. You don't want to shave any of it.
We're all wearing hats, by the way, except for Colin. Colin, you need to wear a hat next time.
Because he's on.
Wear the hat.
I just wake up like this, Dave.
He's on Date the Engineer.
How are the ladies going to see that flowing hair if he's wearing a hat?
Maybe David wants a date with you.
No.
You talked about the flow.
Sorry,
all right,
David,
we'll
not
move
my
off
type.
that uncomfortable subject. But so we're going to go into next week now. It'll be interesting to see what happens in practice this week. We're hearing Garyon Conley's going to be back, which is great news.
He suited up. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I mean, I know he didn't get into the game, but the fact that they were willing to let him suit up means that there was the thought, the potential that maybe he could get out there. So I think it's an encouraging sign. Again, man, this guy needs to find a way to stay healthy, whether it's injuries, vitamin D deficiency. He needs to find a way to get on the field and in a hurry.
What I also like, and I didn't hear any reports of it. If I was there, I'd maybe ask the question and then get laughed at, but I would ask it anyway. And that is, if I'm a coach and my guy's hurt, forget street clothes. I make you dress out anyway. You might not have pads on, but put the jersey on.
Yeah.
Feel like you're part of the game and part of the team. Yeah. That's what I would do. Don't put on a sweatsuit. Don't put on your T-shirt. I would say, hey, okay, you can wear a hat, but put on the uniform and get ready as though you were going to play. So I liked seeing that.
It's a mentality thing, right? It gets you into the game. It gets you into your pregame rituals and get you ready for the upcoming season because eventually you hope you're going to be on the field.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. So we'll see what happens. I also want to see kind of the next progression of what we're. The Rams game is going to be interesting for all the points we mentioned earlier, which is I don't think they're going to show much at all. I think you're going to get a really vanilla.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, and Sean McVay and John Gruden, they don't want to show their hands, so to speak. So
why would you?
It's kind of an unfortunate situation that the NFL had to schedule it like this because I feel like it could be a great matchup. But yeah, we're really not going to get anything from this preseason.
No,
game.
and that's why we're going to have next week. By the way, we're going to have Vinny Bonsignore, who's now with The Athletic. He moved over from the LA Daily News, and congratulations to him on that as well. The only publication I actually recommend usually to subscribe to from an all sports perspective. But nonetheless, he's going to be on. He's going to give us kind of a post game report since the game will be on Saturday and we're on Sunday mornings. So we're going to talk to him about that. But I just don't think you're going to see a lot of that. I think we'll get more reports out of camp, and we'll keep contact with our folks up there to see what's going on. But it should be interesting. The guys that didn't play much, I think you might get a little bit of some standard looks and maybe get some guys like Doug Martin, some guys like Derek Carr out there for a couple series versus one series. But it's not going to be much more than
You
that.
mentioned Doug Martin. We really didn't see him at all. I think he ran that 3rd and 20 draw that got, a yard and a half. And I think that's really the only time we saw him out there. So you said he looks good in camp, or you've heard that he looks good in camp. I'm still skeptical on Doug Martin.
Understand.
I know he's a smaller style back, but he's not the same kind of back that you get out of Washington and Richard. Those guys are more shifty than he is. He definitely has more of a power running style to him. For being a smaller back, I mean that's why they call him the muscle hamster. This dude is built like
muscle hamster,
like a brick. But
and he's going to win the rushing record this year in the NFL.
That's not going to happen at all.
No,
but I mean, again,
he won't. But he'll make the team.
I said he wouldn't make the team. That was my pick early on. We'll see. I mean, if he's in high standing with the coaching staff right now, and he does look that good in camp, then great, because you want all the depth that you can get there. I want to see more out of Chris Warren III because, this kid looks like a stud right now.
He does.
He's going against a lot of 3rd and 4th string guys, so you got to factor that in. Maybe he can move up on the depth chart in preseason, and we can see him against some of the top defenses.
It'll be interesting. And a reminder, too, make sure you join the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas crew next Saturday. Carmen Policy, big interview for the show and for NFL fans. And I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about the Raiders' failed attempt to move to Los Angeles. Thank God.
Yeah, I want to get into
Vegas
that for sure.
But I want to thank David Stepanian. God, why did I want to go with the soft A?
It doesn't matter.
It matters.
Man. I don't.
David Stepanian, ladies and gentlemen.
All I hear is Tarkanian every time.
I know.
That's what I hear in my head.
Oh.
We love Armenians in Las Vegas.
It's an honor to be mentioned in that. I don't think I deserve to be named, but Matt just being in that same sentence. Thank you.
In the same breath.
All right, and Matt Gutierrez, we'll try to get a podcast off this week. We've been so dang busy.
Yeah, it's nonstop right now.
But we appreciate you being Matt. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Always love it.
And
Raider talk. They're on the field. Let's go.
Our engineer, Colin Pelucello, who got some camera time today, got some date requests.
Yep.
And really solved the
We have to turn this into a 900 number pretty soon.
900 number.
I don't think that generation knows what that is.
No. Solved the big audio issue at the beginning again, so thank you, brother. And
Anytime.
Tony Cordasco, who was directing our video feed. For those of you, we had a great, spirited, really amazing audience on Facebook and on YouTube today, so thank you for joining us. We will be back next week here on the Silver and Black. So that's going to be it. We sign off, but never say goodbye, Raider Nation. Thanks for listening. Until next week, may the autumn wind always be at your back. See you next time, Raider Nation.